How could Tu Youyou deceive the Nobel Prize and the Lasker Foundation Award in Medicine? Lecture 7. How did Tu Youyou steal the scientific research results of molecular structure determination from Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry by using the collaboration and excuse? 2015 Nobel Prize in Medicine winner Tu Youyou was an academic cheater and a liar who had made the biggest academic scandal in the history of world science. In the last lecture, we exposed that Tu Youyou obtained the illegal new drug Artemisinin certificate from Chinese Ministry of Health in 1986. Because the drug Artemisinin was already produced and sold in the market for more than 10 years at that time. The new drug approval measures requires to submit the molecular structure of new drugs. To support her illegal certificate, then Tu Youyou tried to steal the molecular research contribution from other two institutes. In January 1975, after the crystal Su showing the strong efficacy against the falciparum malaria than chloroquine, the 523 Project Office invited Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry to search the molecular structure of Su. Soon later, in March 1975, the 523 Project Office invited the Beijing Institute of BioPhysics to join the research because they obtained the structure of insulin before. Both Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry and the Beijing Institute of BioPhysics received dozens of grams crystal Su as the testing material from Yunnan Institute of Material Magic and Shandong Institute of Traditional Medicine. In April 1975, Wu Yuelin and Wu Zhaohua designed a special experimental test to verify that Su crystal having a peroxy group. Based on the information collected, all essential pieces of the molecular structure were found. Then Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry proposed the relative configuration of Su in May 1975. To search the three-dimensional structure, Beijing Institute of BioPhysics had conducted the huge X-ray diffraction measuring and long-computed 3D Fourier transformation calculations for more than half a year. Finally, in November 1975, Beijing Institute of BioPhysics obtained the absolute configuration of Su. Because Su was renamed to Su in 1978, therefore, the discovery of the molecular structure of Artemisinin was the joint contributions of Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry and the Beijing Institute of BioPhysics in 1975. 523 Project Office Administrator Zhang Jianfang wrote the following sentence in the page 48 of his book, Deleted Report. Zhang Jianfang said the determination of the chemical structure of Artemisinin was mainly done by the Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry, with the participation of personnel from Beijing Institute of Chinese Material Magic, and in cooperation with the Beijing Institute of BioPhysics. Both Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry and Beijing Institute of BioPhysics received the certificates of new drug Artemisinin invention in September 1979 from China Sciences and Technology Commission. In the following picture, we can clearly see that Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry and Beijing Institute of BioPhysics were both listed as recipients of the certificate in September 1979. Since its established in 1955, the main research scope of Beijing Institute of Traditional Medicine was the herbal medicinal. They have never conducted any research in the molecular level. Actually, up to 1975, the Institute did not have any employee ever working on the molecular structures topic. Moreover, the Institute did not have the basic modern analyzing instruments such as a hydrocarbon analyzer, infrared spectroscope, nuclear magnetic resonance, and mass spectrometer. Therefore, Tu Youyou and her colleagues did not have academic background to design the chemical experiments for searching the internal segment of the molecule, and did not have knowledge and experience to read the testing results, including the spectrums. Especially, they did not understand the computational algorithm at all. However, in the Lasker Foundation paper, Artemisinin therapy for malaria, the editor, Mrs. Strauss-Root, Tu and her colleagues subsequently determined that it had an unusual structure. This was absolutely not true, because all existing 523 project official documents recorded that the Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry and the Beijing Institute of BioPhysics had determined the structure of Artemisinin, definitely not Tu Youyou and her colleagues. In 2011 Lasker Foundation Award presentation, the Chief Judge, Dr. Lucy Shapiro, said, "In collaboration with scientists in Shanghai, Tu Youyou identified the structure of the compound, which turned out to be completely different from any known anti-malaria drug. However, the railway travel distance from Beijing to Shanghai was about 1,000 miles. In 1975, there was no internet, no cell phone, no email, no video communication software in China. Therefore, in 1975, when Tu Youyou and her colleagues were in Beijing, it was impossible to do the collaboration research works with the Shanghai scientists 1,000 miles away remotely." In the same presentation, Dr. Shapiro also said, then in December 1979, the first English language report was published, but as was the custom in China at that time, the authors were anonymous. Obviously, Dr. Shapiro was deceived by Tu Youyou's recommender, Dr. Su Xinzhuan, because this English language report paper was not anonymous at all, as Dr. Su said. Now we have questions. Number 1. Did Dr. Shapiro ever check out this paper's authors? Number 2. Even if this paper is anonymous, how could it belong to Tu Youyou? In the Lasker Foundation paper, Artemisinin Discovery from Chinese Herbal Garden, published in Cell 2011, Dr. Su Xinzhuan said the following words. The paper describing Artemisinin's X-ray crystal structure, pharmacology, and efficacy against malaria listed no specific authors, who were identified instead as the Su Anti-Malaria Coordinating Research Group. However, Dr. Su lied that the authors of this important anti-malaria research paper were not specified. In the purpose to credit this paper to Tu Youyou and her colleagues, particularly Dr. Su intentionally removed the title of this paper from his references, such that no judges could find this paper, published 40 years ago in China. In December 1978, after crystal Su was evaluated as a new anti-malaria drug Artemisinin and renamed its Chinese name to Su, 523 Project Office thought it was the time to make the new drug Artemisinin publicly to the world science. Therefore, 523 Project Office arranged 9 major anti-malaria research teams to edit a comprehensive academic paper titled Anti-Malaria Studies on Su in both Chinese and English to introduce Artemisinin to the world. The paper was a summary of the contributions from more than 500 scientists in the last 11 years. The Chinese version paper was published in February 1979 in China Pharmaceutical Bulletin, and the English version paper was published in December 1979 in Chinese Medical Journal. The contents of 2 versions are exactly the same. The right picture is the first page of Chinese version paper published in February 1979. Under the title, the author's name was Su Anti-Malaria Coordinating Research Group. However, in the lower right corner, we can see the list of 9 units as the paper editors. Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry and the Beijing Institute of BioPhysics were in the list. The left picture is the first page of the English version, which was published 10 months later than its Chinese version. This was the exact paper referred by Dr. Su Xinzhuan and Dr. Shapiro, whose title is Anti-Malaria Studies on Su, whose author was written briefly as Su Anti-Malaria Coordinating Research Group, as Dr. Su mentioned. However, in the left lower corner, there was a list of 9 units as the paper editors. Every anti-malaria research unit had at least 2 or 3 members. Therefore, 9 units would have more than 30 persons. It was unrealistic to list everyone who had contributed to the content as an author in such a short summary paper. Therefore, using the name of institute as the author cannot be regarded as anonymous. Anonymous means no information leading to discovery. In 2011, based on the papers published in the past 30 years, Dr. Su already knew the persons in charge of each anti-malaria unit very clear. Therefore, Dr. Su said the author was unspecified was deceptive to the Lasker Award judges. Why Dr. Su dared to lie that the author was unspecified? Mainly because this paper did not published in USA 30 years before. No one could find this paper in US now, so his lying was safe. Why Dr. Su lied to Lasker Award judges that this important paper's author was unspecified? Because he could further lie that this paper was edited by Tu Youyou and her colleagues. Actually, all Lasker Award judges were fooled by him. However, the paper has 9 editors. Every editor should have written something. Actually, this paper was only the summary of Artemisinin research, which talked everything but no details. Therefore, to check which part was written by which editor would need actual information. We will prove that the Qinghao chemical structure part was not written by Tu Youyou and her colleagues. The contents about the chemical structure of artemisinin was written in page 2, which was only half page long. It only has 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph was about chemical experiments and spectrums. The second paragraph was about the X-ray diffraction measurements and computer algorithms. Clearly, the second paragraph was edited by Beijing Institute of BioPhysics because no one else could do X-ray diffractions. However, who edited the first paragraph? We need to analyze the content. In this paragraph, the editor also wrote the following sentence. Elemental analysis: carbon 63.72%, hydrogen 7.86% have led the molecular formula C15H22O5. Now we want to check out who had analyzing data that could match those 2 numbers. In the following, the left side was Tu Youyou's analyzing data from her 2015 Nobel Prize presentation notes. The right side was Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry's analyzing data from Wu Yueling's report. By comparison, we can see Tu Youyou's data were far away from data in the paper. However, the Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry had 1 sample data exactly match the number 63.72% for carbon and 7.86% for hydrogen. This was a solid evidence to prove that Tu Youyou and her colleagues were not the editor to write the chemical structure of artemisinin in this paragraph. The editor further wrote the following key sentence in the chemical structure paragraphs of this paper, which was: the presence of the lactone and peroxy group was further proved by qualitative and quantitative reactions. Because only after verifying the existence of lactone and peroxy group, the scientists could identify the structure of Artemisinin. However, the existing 523 project official documents showed that scientists Wu Yuelin and Wu Zhaohua from Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry designed and performed such qualitative and quantitative reactions. Therefore, in short words, the paper Anti-Malaria Study on Qinghao Su was not anonymous and cannot be used to support that Tu Youyou and her colleagues identified the structure of Artemisinin. Now, let's listen how Tu Youyou said in the Nobel Prize speech about the determination for the structure of Artemisinin.
1972年11月开始，对青蒿素的化学结构进行探索，通过元素分析、光谱测定、质谱旋环分析等技术手段，确定化物分子式是碳15氢22氧5，分子量282，明确了青蒿素是不含氮的倍苯萜类化合物。1973年4月，经中国医学科学院药物研究所化学分析时，进一步复核了分子式等有效数据。1974年起，与中国科学院、上海有机化学研究所和生物物理所相继开展了青蒿素结构协作研究的工作，最终经 X 光衍射确定了青蒿素的立体结构，确认青蒿素是含有过氧基团的新硬倍苯萜类子。这个结构在1977年在中国的科学通报上发表，后来就被 CIA 所收着。
In this 1-minute speech, Tu Youyou said that she started to search the molecular structure of Artemisinin in November 1972. This was a big cheating because Tu Youyou team's 1973 clinical trial in Hainan proved that her crystal Qinghao-2 isolated on November 8, 1972 was not Artemisinin because it was ineffective to treat falciparum malaria cases and showing cardiotoxicity. Therefore, any testing experiments on Qinghao-2 had nothing to do with the structure of Artemisinin. Tu Youyou said on April 27, 1973, she obtained the following elemental analyzing data, which led to the molecular formula C15H22O5. Now we have a question. Was her conclusion correct? We needed to check the errors. To this purpose, we must understand the error tolerance criteria for elemental analysis. From menu, the result of an elemental analysis for carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen have traditionally been regarded as acceptable if the error of the results is within 0.3% of the theoretical or predictive value. However, if the error is larger than 0.5% of theoretical or predictive value, the analyzing result will be rejected. If the error is between 0.3% and 0.4%, then the analyzing result will be likely accepted depending on the actual information. If the error is between 0.4% and 0.5%, then the analyzing result will be likely rejected depending on the actual information. Tu Youyou predicted the molecular formula of her crystal Qinghao-2 was C15H22O5. Therefore, by calculation, The molecular weight was 282. The percentage of carbon was 63.87%. The percentage of hydrogen was 7.80%. However, Tu Youyou's analyzing data in hydrogen was 8.52% and 8.54%. Both errors in percentage of H were greater than 0.72%, is much larger than the critical value 0.3%. Therefore, Tu Youyou's predictive formula must be rejected. Now we have a question. Why Tu Youyou put the incorrect elemental analyzing data in her Nobel Prize speech slide? This was because, number one, the sample Qinghao 2 used for analyzing was not Artemisinin at all. Number two, Tu Youyou and her colleagues did not have the basic elemental analyzing knowledge about the error tolerance criteria. They even were not aware that the analyzing data was not matchable to the prediction. Now we want to expose that Tu Youyou changed the handwriting submitting and analyzing times of this data report. First, let's look at the submitting time. It was written as 1973 April 24th in Chinese. However, when we look at the handwriting digits, we could find that the first four was changed and totally different from second four, because the first four means April. Therefore, the submitting time was not April 24th. Next, let's check out the analyzing time. We can see the digit 4 was also changed. If comparing the digit 4 in the following three numbers from the report, it was very clear that the handwriting of the first digit 4 was completely different from others. Therefore, the analyzing time was not April 27th. However, what was the exactly true analyzing time? By carefully figuring out digit 4 in the following image, an expert said the handwriting digit 4 must be changed from 11, which means November. So, the true analyzing time was November 27th, 1973. Actually, in the late April 1973, Tu Youyou met big trouble. The pharmacology department refused to approve the upcoming clinical trial because the test dog died of heart attacks from drug Qinghao 2. Tu Youyou was too busy fighting with the pharmacology department to do anything else at that time. To support her in identifying the three-dimensional structure of artemisinin, Tu Youyou attached the following picture to her Nobel Prize speech slides. However, there is a serious error in the right half picture. The left half picture was drawn by Beijing Institute of BioPhysics in a paper published in 1977. The right half picture was created by Tu Youyou. Based on the left half picture, she made a ball stick model and took a photo. Tu Youyou's error was the free chemical bonds around the carbon 11. We draw circles surround the carbon 11 in both half pictures respectively. However, they were not matched. Every college biology student understood the solid line means on the front side and the dashed line means on the back side. Now look at the left picture. The element hydrogen H is connected to carbon 11 by dashed line. Therefore, the hydrogen H must be on backside. On the other hand, a methyl group 13 was connected to carbon 11 by a solid line. Therefore, it must be on the front side. However, look at the right ball stick model made by Tu Youyou. It is very clear that Tu Youyou mistakenly put the element hydrogen on the front side and put the methyl group CH3 on the back side. This was a fundamental error, which means that Tu Youyou incorrectly exchanged the directions of hydrogen H and a methyl group CH3 in her ball stick model. Why this error was serious? From the molecular structure of artemisinin, we can see that carbons C1, C4, C5, C7, C10, C11, and C12 are connected to free chemical bonds, but only carbon C11 has the double free bonds. To determine their directions was a very important issue for the structure of artemisinin, which was called the alpha or beta configurations. Tu Youyou exchanged those two configurations, then the compound will become the epimer of artemisinin, which could have the different biology properties. Historically, it was Wu Yulin of Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry to obtain the configurations of artemisinin by NMR spectrum scanning first, and verified by Beijing Institute of BioPhysics with X-ray diffraction method later. Let's look at the following hydrogen nuclear magnetic resonance spectrum data written in the paper Antimalaria Studies on Qinghao. Among them, two sets of data were marked. The first data was indicated that the methyl group at carbon 13 is beta configuration connecting to carbon 11, and the second data was indicated that a hydrogen is alpha configuration connecting to carbon 11. Tu Youyou's ball stick model error showed that she did not have the basic academic knowledge to identify the configurations from NMR spectrum. Therefore, how could say that she had identified the structure of artemisinin? Tu Youyou's ball stick configuration error can be seen in 2011 Lasker Foundation Award commentary paper, as the following picture shows. Actually, after 2011, many Chinese 523 project scholars sent emails to Tu Youyou pointing out this ball stick configuration error. However, Tu Youyou bet that the Nobel Prize judges would not be able to find out this error. Therefore, she refused to make any corrections in her 2015 Nobel Prize speech. Or Tu Youyou simply did not care the configuration errors. This letter was from Tu Youyou to Li Ying of Shanghai Institute of Material Medic, dated on September 1st, 1985. In this letter, Tu Youyou asked Li Ying to teach her the knowledge about reading NMR spectrum. She said In Chinese， 请注明一下你们认为哪个是阿尔法题，哪个是贝塔题。Translate to English. Please specify how do you recognize the alpha and beta configurations. This later proved that 10 years after the structure of Artemisinin was determined, Tu Youyou still did not know how to recognize the alpha and beta configurations from NMR spectrum. Therefore, Tu Youyou and her colleagues were impossible to identify the following complete structure of Artemisinin. The first time to present the paper about the chemical structure of Artemisinin was on November 30, 1975, at a special 523 project conference held in Beijing. The speaker was Liang Li from Beijing Institute of BioPhysics. In her presentation, she said the result was a joint contribution with Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry. The first English presentation about the structure of Artemisinin was at the 11th Conference of International Union Crystallography, held in August 1978 at Warsaw, Poland. The speaker was Liang's colleagues, not Tu Youyou or her colleagues. In October 1981, at the WHO meeting in Beijing, Tu Youyou only recited the report structure of Artemisinin in Chinese copied from Liang Li. Moreover, in her presentation, Tu Youyou failed to answer most of the audience questions about the experiment. We appeal the Lasker Foundation and the Nobel Prize Committee to conduct a complete investigation on paper Anti-Malaria Studies on Qinghao Su, published on Chinese Medical Journal in 1979. Number 1. The paper has 9 authors. Why Dr. Su and Lasker judge Dr. Shapiro said it was anonymous. Number 2. The carbon hydrogen elemental analyzing data written in this paper was not the same as Tu Youyou's data provided in the Nobel Prize lecture. Number 3. Tu Youyou's ball stick configuration area was not matched the NMR data in this paper. If the investigation implies that Tu Youyou did not obtain the structure of Artemisinin, please make the correction. More of Tu Youyou's cheating material will come soon. Bye-bye.